Folks, welcome to Green Valley, Arizona. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming to you live on Facebook, and joined here by the last white bebop drummer alive today in the world. It's an honor to welcome Art Frank to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thanks, man.
Art, can you tell me a little bit about your conception of drumming from the swing era, and then when you first started to hear the language of bebop, especially on the drums?
Well, I have to go back when I was about 14 to 15 years of age in Maine. I was playing swing drums. I'll give you an example.
Yeah, why don't you give an example?
Swing drums like this. That's swing. Now the difference between that and bebop would be like
Now explain to the worldwide audience what that difference was, because you played a lot of, you were swinging there.
Right. Well, I was doing a lot of fills because I was listening to either the alto player or the tenor player or the trumpet player doing licks. And when he take a breath, I'd tilt with a fill and a couple of, I'd echo like my left hand does it. I'd go with the bass drum. I'd break it up like Max. On the simple one. Okay.
People are loving this, by the way. Art Frank on fire already, dude. So, can you just talk about the forefathers of bebop drumming and how they influenced you?
Yeah. Getting back to what you asked, I was in Maine, in Westbrook. I'd listen to the radio at night. And I'd hear somebody Sid Torn talking about the Metropolitan Opera House. That was the Royal Rouge restaurant.
The Opera House.
Yeah, Metropolitan Opera House. Opera.
Bop.
House.
I love it.
Anyway, this was in 48, 49. So I was a kid of 16 years old. I hitchhiked down until I came to this restaurant called the Royal Rouge. They wouldn't let me in because I was 16. So instead, I went up to a place called the Spotlight Lounge, and that's where Stan Levy, the great white drummer.
Angela, if you're tuning in, we're talking about your late husband, Stan Levy, here.
Yes, Stan Levy.
People are on fire with this video already.
I walked in, and I waited to Stan get through for the first set. He was a big man, about 6'4", 6'5". And I said, Stan, my name is Art Frank, and I'm from Westbrook, Maine. He said, how can I help you, kid? I said, well, I'm interested in bop drumming. And he looked around. He could have just said, well, I don't have the time, kid. But he was gracious, and he took me over to a table on the other side, and he did something like this. He said, I'm going to show you something. I'll watch this. He goes, here's the left hand, here's the right hand. He was a left-handed drummer, incidentally, so he had to turn it around. But he said, when you ride, this hi-hat comes down at the same time as the beat on the cymbal. See, nothing? I'm doing like this. Right? Now, if I was playing swing, I go. Okay, the bebop took that flute, Kenny Clark. Total independence is it. Total independence.
Total independence, yeah.
Okay, there's the right hand going. Then the high, then the four. Left. That 2, 3, 4 beat. Then the left hand is totally independent, which separates from swing drumming because you're in a ritual swing drumming. When the bass came in, we got like Buster Williams, Paul Chambers. They came in, they had that big rooted sound.
Yeah.
And nothing to use the bass. That's where Clute got another. You use a hi-hat instead of the bass. Watch, you get this thing going. And you tell me you get that thing going there. I mean, go over on the drums and still come back to this.
Art Frank, on fire, the last white living bebop drummer. Now, Art, can you talk about really when you got on the bandstand, the first cats you played bebop with, and how you played really busy but did not clutter the sound?
Well, when you say the first guy I played with was Charlie Parker.
You played with Bird.
The first one I ever played with.
You want to tell that story?
As I said, I was walking into the place called the Royal Roost Restaurant on Broadway, and I was too young. And when I came down, I lied about my age. I told them I was 17. So they brought me into the Royal Roost Restaurant, and they had, like they had in Birdman, they had like a bullpen. But people were 16 years old or under.
Right, the peanut gallery.
Exactly. So they had me over there. So Laura, about 30 minutes went by, and the set ended. Charlie Parker came walking by, and I said, Mr. Parker, Mr. Parker. He stopped. He said, who called me Mr. Parker? He said, no one called me Mister. So we came over. I said, what can I do for you? I said, I'm from Maine, and I'd like to sit in with you. He kind of laughed. So anyway, I think it was Miles, young Miles, yeah. And I think it was Tommy Porter on bass, or Philly Russell. And it was Matt Roach who came over and said, let the kid play a little. He said, let the kid play a little. So I waited around for about an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Roach said to you, but he referred to you as the kid.
Yep.
Okay.
Let the kid sit in. He said, let the kid play a little.
Yeah.
And I think an hour or two went by, 2 hours. It was next to the last set, and he called me up. And I sat in, and he was very gracious. He said, let's do something about, I think, well, see, how I could play this,
yeah,
because I was listening to him on the radio from New York in the state of Maine, the WJZ FM, with somebody said to him, he would get down and take his TV, or not the TV, but you've got the tape recorder with him, and record. In fact, I got a tape from live from New York City, and I listened to him, and I would copy the beats on the table, because I didn't have a set of drums. I just knew I could do it, because I had faith in Almighty God, and I believe He gave me the gift. So, to make a long story short, went down, just like down, got into the club, spoke to Mr. Parker, and he let me sit in. He let me sit in. And I'll tell you, you talk about nervous. Yep, I sat in, and I felt I did pretty good. Now, I'm going to give you a near verbatim quote.
Yeah.
After I was through, he came over to me, he said, you're a little bit raw, but you have good time and proper placement. Now, I didn't know what the hell he meant by proper placement.
Right.
And he said to me, go home and do some woodshedding. I wanted to tell you, he's going to be crazy. So in fact, we had a wood stove in our house in Maine. And I started going down the cellar, chopping wood and bringing armfuls of wood up behind the stove. My father came over and said, what the hell are you doing? I said, I'm woodshedding. I said, Mr. Parker, I'm going to woodshed. He said, that's not what he means. So he learned right there what woodshedding meant. But it was, anyway, I did this a while longer. 6 or 7 months later, I went back to he was no longer, I don't think, yeah, he's still in the Royal Roost or someplace. And he let me say it again, and he said to me, now you're sweeping the store clean. And I asked what that meant. He said, you've arrived, you're playing bebop. I was 17 years old. And why I feel so good about that, Jake, is because Stan Levy was 16 years old when Dizzy Gillespie hired him to play with his group. And in that group was Charlie Parker. So it's a small world when you think about, my God. And the thing about Charlie Parker, when they get out and see it at Birdland years later, anybody he'd invite people up the stage, because he knew what it was like to be laughed on the stand.
Right.
So he let anybody come and try. I could see these alto players, tenor players, and trumpet players going up and saying, and as soon as they get up, down they went. You know why? The timbres were here. You know why that was? He separates the man from the voice. If you couldn't hold the tempo, you couldn't play. And it would have been out. Don't this guy sit in, he can't cut it.
Can you talk? Today we are immersed in a society of pulsating, where the bass drum is the main timekeeper.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how you keep time on the cymbals in bebop? Can you demonstrate that?
Sure, but first of all, let me tell you, I wrote a book called Essentials for the Bebop Drummer. It's all about mind tones. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Like this. I had no drums growing up, so I had mind tones. Okay, that's the hi-hat. Boom, boom, that's the bass. Okay, now right. We're getting one. I left this out purposely. Now watch me bring it in. I'll do a little slower until you get a forward propulsion movement. It's like what we call in New York City in the old days, playing with an edge.
Yeah.
One. That's a 1, 2, 3. See? There's a high and a half time. When you come back on the time, say someone's playing out in D. You fill the spaces.
Yeah, no, but I mean, when was the first, when Parker came, after you woodshedded and came back, he said, you're sweeping the floor. Clean.
Yeah.
Was there a period in bebop where you were breaking up the time and the form? Because that's what you were chopping over there.
Right.
Because I mean, everyone, well, in my research, what I've been noticing is that, it's Tony and Ron Carter that get the publicity in the mid-'60s. But were there cats in the bebop era that were breaking up time and breaking up form? And can you demonstrate about how you break, when you're playing 4/4 and then all of a sudden you break it up, if you could demonstrate that?
Okay, well, let me explain something. You got to take into consideration, I'm playing to imaginary tenor saxophone player,
Right.
player, bass player. If I'm just playing time, now if I when I do this, that's the fill, okay? But I'm still coming back to the 2, 3, 4 ride. There's the motor right there.